Hey, hey, hey. I hope you guys enjoy these, what I'm calling podcast shorts for my Burnout to All Out community. This is just a little peek behind the curtain of the coaching that goes on inside of my programs. We're bringing to you some of the best nuggets and coaching I'm giving within hot seats of all of our different programs, whether it's our LinkedIn Method Academy, our mini mastermind business basics, all the way up to our higher level mastermind. If you're hearing some of these questions and you're like, man, I wish I could get my burning question answered by Melissa. Hey, guess what? You could be featured on my podcast. If you've got a question that you want answered and you submit it to my team and we pick it, we will bring you here to the podcast for our podcast shorts and do a hot seat with you. Where can you submit your questions? Send them to teamburnouttooallout.co. We'll make sure we drop that in the show notes for our podcast shorts. And I hope that you guys find as much value in these shorts as our clients do inside the program. Need some effective tactical advice that actually helps you get results and makes a real difference in your life and business? You've come to the right place. If you're finding yourself here today, it means you're getting ready to gain serious traction in your business, rapidly multiply your income and impact, and you're ready to make it happen while living all out. Guys, I'm Melissa Hinault, your trustworthy corporate dropout turned six-figure business burnout turned happy and healthy CEO of a multi-million-dollar online business. And you're listening to the Burnout to All Out podcast. On this show, we're serving up innovative growth strategies, simple implementation methods to put them into practice, and action-stimulating inspiration tailored specifically for the modern entrepreneur. Let's dive in.
So my name is Tina Gonaldo, and I am new to the Academy. And so I have a question. I hope it's clear.
Yeah.
I support health teams. And when I talk about health teams, I mean the patient, the family, healthcare providers, and other professionals who might not be traditionally seen on the health team. So teachers, fire, policemen. Okay. And so, but most people don't consider the health team being that encompassing. But I want to speak to all three on LinkedIn, but I find myself mostly speaking to healthcare professionals because that's who my audience is. However, like all of us on this session tonight are probably all or have been a patient. Mm-hmm. So I know it crosses over. So I help strengthen and build interprofessional teams using science or integrating the research. And so I don't want to confuse my audience. So my question is, how do you appeal to three different audiences? Because a patient or a client could be my audience because I could help them navigate through their own lack of healthcare coordination.
Okay.
A health professional or provider, I could help them by just taking down the hierarchies that exist in healthcare and respecting active listening, all of that. But I could also speak to healthcare administrators, which say if we build stronger teams, interprofessional teams, and so it's not a professional silo team, but if we build these teams of different professions, then your retention will be better, your burnout will be less, et cetera. So it's three different talking points as well. So any suggestions?
Yeah. So are you looking for maybe kind of a little bit of strategy on the platform as far as like speaking to each of them and being able to grow brand awareness and authority amongst all of them and do it in a clear way? Is that what you're asking?
I think so. Or should I segment it and start out with health professionals? Because right now I'm in higher education. I've been there for 17 years and that I'm a physical therapist by training. Have been in higher education teaching the future healthcare workforce how to work in interprofessional teams for 12 years now. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about starting with health professionals first, but then I'm missing the biggest piece of the puzzle, which we wouldn't have a health team without a patient.
Right.
So I feel kind of bad not speaking to patients first.
Right. Okay. And does location matter, or is this like an internet-based business where you're coaching virtually all over the US, all over the continent? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it can actually be anywhere, even the worldwide.
Okay. Okay. And where do you see the large, if you had to segment out revenue in your business between the three and like looking at your business plan for the rest of the year, where do you project, or is there one target audience that's going to be bringing in the large majority of the revenue in your business? Or is it segmented out like three ways? Like talk to me a little bit about your business plan or your goal with revenue with three different groups.
So I initially went towards health professionals or providers because they might have money in terms of a small private practice or a healthcare system to spend in terms of that way. However, when patients are really struggling with coordination of care and not knowing what to do next, who to call next, what verbiage to use to speak up, I mean, I don't want to ignore their voice in all of it. And so I would say in terms of health administrators was initially my first going, that's who I want to appeal to. But the heart part of this and healthcare providers, actually patients would fall before and then healthcare providers would fall third. So that's how I ranked them initially. However, I am confused because I really want to bump patients up to number one, but I'm not sure LinkedIn is the platform to bump patients up to number one.
Yeah. So this is a really great question that let's talk through. Depending on your targeted audience is going to hinge on whether you can like drill down and find that particular demographic, right? If your demographic is literally anyone who's a patient in the United States, like that's going to be kind of hard to zero in on. Then we want to start, there's got to be ways to stratify. Is it based on price point, right? Like, are you cash paying? Are you working with healthcare plans? Like, how are you billing and who's paying? So let me start there.
It would all be cash based. So it's not something I can code for through a CPT code. Yep.
So it's got to be people who prioritize their healthcare and also have the cash to pay for it. Okay. So probably more affluent, educated folks that when I say educated, I mean educated about their healthcare or prioritize their healthcare in a way that they feel that it's really important to them. You know what really helped me go from making $1,200 per launch in 2020 to making over $800,000 per launch in 2023? Guys, I'll give you a hint. It wasn't a secret formula. It wasn't a magical hack or strategy. And it definitely wasn't a grind till you die mentality. You guys, it was getting in the right room in front of the right people. And that right circle of influence raises the bar, helping us set new, higher expectations for ourselves and elevate our standards for the life we live and the business we operate. Because the truth is that we don't know what we're truly capable of until we get into the room with the people who are going bigger than us, scaling higher and showing us what is possible. When you join us in Austin at Burnout to All Out Live this October, you will be stepping into the room. This 2 to 3 day experience, depending on if you go VIP, is the most result-oriented event for business owners and entrepreneurs. It's unlike any other event you've attended. If you're looking for dynamic growth opportunities, cutting edge ideas, a supportive community, and energizing inspiration to help you elevate your business and upgrade your life, you'll find it at Burnout to All Out Live. But I have to warn you, last year the seats sold out weeks in advance. As a matter of fact, our gold VIP tickets, and I'm recording this ad in January, are totally sold out already. They've been snatched up. We do have some silver VIP tickets for that extra third day, and there's a good chance we're going to totally sell out this event again. So if you want in, I encourage you to grab your ticket now before the prices go up and the silver VIP tickets are completely gone. Check out the show notes from this podcast episode for the link to grab your ticket to secure your spot at Burnout to All Out Live 2024, where we will be elevating you. Or if you have a web browser handy, open up a new tab and go to www.burnout2allout.co/live-events. Can't wait to see you there. So I do think you can find those people on LinkedIn. There's a couple ways I want to go with this, but the first thing you could do, and this is for all of you guys, the first thing you can do is think about who is my ideal audience that would buy my products or services. And I'm thinking about active users on the platform who really value their health. And maybe the only way you're really going to be able to target them on LinkedIn is by finding those who follow influencers who really educate in that space on LinkedIn and they engage, right? Now, this isn't going to be all encompassing. There's going to be a huge demographic of people who value their healthcare just as much as the ones who follow these influencers, but they're not following them. And it's going to be harder to find them. But what I mean by this is like Dr. Mark Hyman, who's like the top influencer in functional medicine on LinkedIn. If you go pull him up, there's people following him in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, right? So if you're growing your connections through people who follow him, it's an active user on the platform who values their healthcare. And you can strategize before you connect with them by looking at their titles. So this is where you can get really choosy on mid-level to high-level career folks, just kind of choosing based off of where they are in their career as far as where they probably are with money in the bank, right? Versus someone who's brand new right out of college, who probably is not going to pay out of pocket, right? So this is where you just got to get really clear with your avatar, with the avatar work that you're going to go through. But I do think that you can start kind of reverse growing that network based off of finding people on the platform who are actively engaging and actively following influencers in the space of health and wellness. So that's number one. Number two, and this is for all of you guys to really think about, is a lot of us get started in business. We want to help the underdog. It's like we want to help. There's different demographics that we want to help and problems that we want to solve. But we also have to remember that cash flow is really important to have a business. And so I highly encourage all of you to consider solving the rich people's problems in your demographic first. Right? And that sounds heartless, but the reality is like you can't solve broke people's problems until you have cash in the bank. And rich people pay to have their problems solved, right? So I don't fully understand your business model, but I would ask like, who's going to be the highest paying client? Who's going to generate the most business for you? And I would hinge on making sure we're spending a lot of time on that, because it may not be where you want to spend indefinitely, but you're going to be solving problems in that niche space that's going to bring cash into your business. And then you can go serve the underdog, right? So we definitely priced high and solved progressive entrepreneurs' problems before going out and starting to throw out scholarships and a much lower ticket kind of thing for people, because it wasn't going to get my business up off the ground to focus on clients who couldn't afford my services. Does that make sense? So the last thing I'll say on this is I do think that, not to confuse you, but you can totally market to all three on different days, and you can grow your network to all three on different days. So knowing the pain point of the administrator and how you solve their problem is one piece of content. Maybe you market to them once a week, and then the doctor and their pain points and why they would need to work with you is a totally different message that you could market to. And the same thing with the patient. And if it's too much to do one per week in each category, especially when you're first getting started, is just do one per week in general. So like maybe you speak to the administrator one week, the doctor a second week, a patient the third week, and then you circle back to the administrator again. This is where you're a subject matter expert. You're bringing value as the authority, and they're seeing the value of potentially working with you through the content you're putting out in the feed. And on separate days, when you post, commit to growing your network in that category, right? So on the days that you post towards administrators, commit to adding 10 to 20 people in your network who are administrators, right? On the days that you're posting around the value proposition for physicians, grow your network of physicians. And that is the number one thing people miss on LinkedIn, is that they'll spend all this time curating beautiful content and putting it out. And they're like, nobody's engaging. And I'm like, well, are you strategically growing the audience that appreciates the content you're putting out? Because when you strategically grow the audience of people who appreciate it, they're going to engage in it. And that's what's going to create the activity and the visibility, and it's going to be seen. So be patient with that process. Some of you were on my call earlier today. Does anybody remember what the magic number of a new network is to really start seeing magic happen in your feed? Let me see, 500, right? So what like pains me is a client getting through like 4 months in the academy and getting into these calls and saying, I've been creating so much content, no one's engaging. And I say, well, show me your network. Like every one of you needs to write down where you are today. And the question is, how quickly did you get to 500 from today that are new, that are targeted, that are your ideal audience? Because I can guarantee you once you hit that magic number and you're putting content out that resonates with them a couple times a week, you will feel the flow. And some of you are in here who've been in the academy for a while know what I'm talking about. You'll feel the flow. You'll feel the energy once you hit that critical number because you have enough people to play with on the platform that are engaging with what you have, and it's creating visibility and virility on the platform. Does that make sense?
It does. Can I just ask one follow-up question? So when you talked about launching any type of product or service, if we're brand new, do you recommend going 4 months building our followers and our connections before even trying to offer some type of product?
Yeah, great question. I do think that you have to build community before you build your bank account. And I don't want this to slow you guys down from just like, I call it like, I don't want to demoralize this because I've lived in it, but it's failing forward, right? Like grow your network while you're growing your offer. And like, just don't beat yourself up if the first month in the academy, you're putting something out there and it's not monetizing. You just haven't earned the right yet. But like fail forward till you get to a critical mass and an audience that you've earned the right to sell to, right? It's going to depend on how quickly you grow your network and how conscious and consistent you are at putting content out as the authority in what you do. That's going to hinge on how quickly people opt into the stuff that you're trying to monetize, right? So if you come into the academy and you solely focus on network growth, but there's no content out there, so the people that you're growing network with have no idea that you're open for business or that you're an authority, then when you go to sell something, they're not going to buy. And the opposite can happen. If you're pushing out a bunch of content, but forgot to grow the network, and then you go to sell something, nobody's going to buy. So I would highly recommend, as comfortably quickly as you can in the program, is to be consistently growing your network on a daily basis and consistently have a content push plan where you're putting content out every week, because it is a yin and yang that is totally worth the time. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners don't see how valuable the asset is of a curated network until they go to sell something and no one's buying. And they start kind of looking backwards at like, why isn't anyone buying? And it's because they didn't do the work, which is 30% of your budget and your time needs to be marketing, right? Even if it's free, meaning even though LinkedIn is free, even though you can push the content out for free, you can create a multi-million-dollar business by just being consistent with free content on the platform and leveraging a free content to grow your network. But I just find that people overlook the value and the consistency of doing it daily, like you brush your teeth. Like to this day, we grow my network every single day, because the reality is no matter where you are in business, you will eventually run out of leads if you don't continue to grow your network. Bottom line, doesn't matter if you're $1 million business, a $10,000 a year business. If we're not focused on serving and growing at the same time, we lose a network to monetize and continue to grow. So hopefully that was helpful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, so much for listening in on today's podcast episode. And I can't wait for you to see my upcoming guest in the next episode. You are going to love this keynote speaker. Hey, here's the deal. If you liked this, please subscribe and leave a review. And you want the latest online business growth strategies and exclusive LinkedIn pro tips sent straight to your phone? Text the word update to 704-318-2285. That is, text the word update to 704-318-2285. Can't wait to see you guys. Come find me over on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you like to hang. I cannot wait to hear how you are enjoying and applying what you're learning. You guys reach out to me over on social, because I love hearing what's resonating with you. When you reach out to me and you send me those personal DMs, they really do impact the content I continue to bring forward to you. So again, come find me, Melissa_Hinault over on Instagram, Melissa Hinault over on LinkedIn and Facebook. Can't wait to see you guys over there.